Okay, so temple woman. So the concept of temple woman basically came to me whilst I was dancing in a field in 2021. And at the time it was, we were doing this free dancing, a bit like five rhythms. And the music that came on was very sort of like stomping, if you like, and very earthy. And as I was dancing along, I just had these two words came into my head, temple woman. And at the time I was like, what is that? And the way that I generally work is I take the idea and then I just start to brainstorm it. And as I began this brainstorm, it gradually got bigger and bigger. So it's sort of it's to do with embodiment and who you are. But for me, everything comes back to reconnecting us to our inner knowing. Okay. So whether you're male or female, it's about really listening to your intuition. Okay. So temple woman itself, the way that I say it, is a space for women to learn, to grow, to connect with other women in sacred space, to laugh, to cry, to be seen and heard, to value themselves and others, to feel empowered, to work with our cycles instead of against them, and most importantly, reconnecting to your inner knowing. Because when you reconnect to your inner knowing, then it just helps everything in life to flow. It helps you to make better decisions, etc. There's so much that can come back to really connecting us to that space. So part of the vision is my hope and dream, and this is something that I've wanted to do for a while, is how can we come together collectively, yeah, to work, to laugh, to dream and co-create, but also intertwining both our spiritual and material worlds. So I've been on the spiritual journey for quite a while now, since 2008. But what I recognize is that, even though it would be amazing to go off with a load of spiritual peeps and just hide in like the back end of beyond, meditating and dancing and everything else, actually, that's not fully the reason we're here. We need to be able to ground these spiritual practices into the world we are currently in and bringing other people along with us as well. So it's how can we intertwine these together through the different tools, and again reconnecting to our inner knowing. So part of for me, it's part of this is around creating sacred and safe spaces for women to live and work in communities. And it's about finding those spaces where women can gather. So not in a church, not in like, it doesn't always have to be in someone's house, but it's like creating that really sacred space where women can gather and be able to like collaborate, be able to speak openly, be able to share their visions. And it's actually really interesting. I've always been you won't believe this, but you might. I've always been very opposed to working just with women, but that was due to a lot of past life trauma that I had connected with. Whenever I was in a group of women, I was always killed. So the first time that I was in a group of women was in August this year for the Lionsgate portal. And when it was myself and 8 other women, and when it came to discussing our visions, our goals, our dreams, every single one of us said exactly the same thing. We want to go off grid, we want to find community, and we want to connect with others. So part of doing this and finding the space is around finding land in which we can build our communities. One of the things which I'll discuss later is around creating an online platform where women can share skills at affordable prices, and it's around collaborating and co-creating as well. Okay, so these are the values that I sort of see for women and for men as well, who want to come in and support this vision, if you like, this project. I don't even know what to call it right now. You are seeing this in the very beginning stages. And it's taken a bit of guts for me to go, actually, it's not polished, it's not a finished product. This is like very much in the infancy stages. And that's why I wanted to open it up, to do a Zoom call, to be able to share with others, in the hope that like, there'll be other inspirations and other ideas come in, and we'll be able to bounce off each other and build from this. So part of the values that I see, which are sort of my values and which I see in others, are integrity, transparency, compassion, kindness, gratitude. And most of all, when I've sat down, myself, and thought about what it is that I want most from a community, it's about being heart-centered. you know, and that doesn't mean being perfect, and it doesn't mean being like all spiritual and everything else. It's about just practicing everything from your heart and doing things from a space of love. So embodying the role of a temple woman. So no matter where you are on your journey, she's already within you. And you don't have to become a temple woman. You already are a temple woman if you identify as female. Okay. There was more that I had behind that. I can't do that bit. So I'll just do a bit of an introduction about me, and then I will bring Emily on as well to introduce herself and talk a little bit about how we've decided to start collaborating together. So like I said earlier, my name is Lindsay Banks. I started my spiritual journey back in 2008 when I first went to learn Reiki. Since then, I have done mediumship work, I've done psychic work, I'm currently doing shamanic healing work. What else have I done? I've written 3 books. I've created a YouTube channel. I've interviewed people about their spiritual journey, and I'm now looking to start interviewing people about their off-grid communities, you know, and really sort of I found over the years just embracing, you know, whatever comes, and like changing and constantly like never sticking to that one label. You know, it's like I'm like, oh, I'm a channeler. No, I'm not. I'm a psychic. And just really allowing the flow, I suppose, of this life's journey to take me where it does, which is sort of how I ended up in a caravan earlier this year. I started saying to my children, if I go and live in a caravan, are you going to come with me? They said no. But unfortunately, they had no choice because they're only little. So I bought myself a caravan and found a caravan site to house it on. Everyone kept saying to me, what are you going to do when the end of season comes? And thankfully, the owners were like, you can stay, that's fine. So I'm still there. But like I said a bit earlier, you know, the one thing that I know that I'm really missing is community and connectedness, connection in that space. And, you know, that's what I really am looking forward to, hopefully co-creating with some of you guys, and being able to visit other off-grid communities as well, you know. So I know there's some awesome people out there doing some work as well. So yeah, so I'm going to bring in Emily to discuss a little bit more about how we have decided to co-create. Emily, do you want to come on?
Yeah, great. Shall I just start by saying a bit about me, and then where I'm up to with things? So if you don't know me, my name's Emily. I've been, I'm an aromatherapist and shamanic healer, and I feel like in my previous job roles, I've always kind of been helping. So I feel like I've always been like a shamanic healer, but I've tried to do it through other jobs, which sounds a bit crazy. But like when I was a Senko working with families, I used to do a lot of work with kind of like different generations of families, and then I started learning about ancestral healing. I was like, oh, that's what they needed. So, but I was kind of like trying to do that in a school, which was quite weird to look back and sort of see myself. But so yeah, I've always been attracted to this work and seen it's been really important, and it's interesting that I've kind of done it in like a corporate setting in a way, and now sort of bringing it in more of a spiritual sense. I do a lot of work with women. I've got this thing about like women speak, like giving women their authentic voice, sort of speaking from the womb. So when I work with, I teach a womb healing course. And it's very much about, like Lindsay was saying, connecting with your inner knowing, but also your own sensuality and the way that that you speak may not feel. Sometimes when women express themselves, it can not feel official or something like that. And what I want to connect women with is that that's okay. That kind of their authentic voice comes through from the womb, and we've got lots and lots of conditioning around kind of like being afraid to express ourselves for various loads of reasons, and that's one of the things that I really help women with as well. And I do dance as well, so that feels like a sort of coming together of everything. So where I'm at the moment is about a year ago, me and my partner started distilling oils. We started growing and distilling rather than like importing like tropical plants from abroad. We sort of started distilling nettles from the garden, mugwort, getting really in touch with what was growing around us. And that tied in with some work that, because I'm part of a professional body, and I was basically thinking about what's the point in thinking that it's all outside us. We need to connect with our earth under our feet. We need to connect with our land, with England as such, because that's where we are. And yeah, it's really sent me on a journey to want to get some land and expand that, use the land medicinally. I feel like we kind of got lots of pasture land that needs to become organic again. It needs to thrive. We need to connect with it, and there's so many possibilities with it. So we started looking for land about 18 months ago, and then came to the realization that it would be better to do it in a group of people. And the group that we were connected with at the time, they didn't have children, and I got a bit of a vision that it all needs to be created around women, because it was that wisdom that was going to be really good to bring the community together, and that men were going to have that supporting role and really help us to bring our visions into practice. So I have this vision about kind of healing the land and healing people and creating sacred space. And I'm getting together a group of people to find some land. So I've got 2 other families so far that are interested in getting land together. And I'm going to be posting, had a meeting this morning, and I'm going to be posting on the Off-Grid sites what our ethos is and things like that. So I'll share it in this group as well after here. And yeah, so in terms of collaborating with other businesses, other women, I always feel that I don't want to be like the head of things. I don't want to be the central point. I want to create space for the people to be able to sort of really shine, because I know so many people who have got these beautiful offerings and they're like waiting for the moment to be given permission or something. And I think it's really important that we kind of give that to each other and kind of notice, looking back at the different stages in my life, I know that I was waiting for somebody to go, Emily, do it. And yeah, I'd like to be the person to do that with other women. I think that'd be really beautiful. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm up to at the moment.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Emily. So so Emily and I, just to put it into a bit of context, we met up about 3 weeks ago, Emily, in Leeds, and we had a conversation, and Emily said some stuff which made me cry, because it was so true. It was about, you know, growing herbs, and we realized we both had like similar visions. So we decided to get together and create a day retreat, which I'll come to in a minute, and some boxes as well. So I'm going to be sharing a bit more info about those in a second. So let me get my screen back. Thank you very much, Emily. Okay. So, I've lost my little toggle thing. Oh, bear with me 1 minute. Sorry, guys. How do I do this? Oh, there. Back on it. Right. Okay. So these are some of the initiatives that we came up with. So I've had it in my mind for about the last 4 or 5 months to set up a co-op. So for me, this is all to do with equality. So it allows members equal say in how we're going to move forward. So, you know, I've worked by myself now for the last 3 years since getting divorced, you know, and I've done a lot of different things in business. You know, I've grown my own social media accounts. I've set up YouTube channels. I've interviewed some amazing people. But what I found is I cannot do this by myself. And the thing that I keep hearing as well within people who like within the off-grid community is, I really want to go off-grid, but I can't do this by myself. So for me, this seems like a really good solution and a way to go forward. So what we're looking at is creating a membership, which is literally £5 a year. So a bit like the way the co-op, you know, the food shop is set up for them. I think it's like £1 a year membership or something like that. What we're proposing is to create a membership which is £5 a year. So for that, I'll come into the membership and the benefits in a minute, but that's one part. What we're looking at doing as well is what we want to do is to help other women, like Emily say, to grow their business. Yeah, so like myself and Emily, we've done it before. We're waiting for permission to do things, but we really want to help other women to grow their businesses, and doing this not only through their products that they maybe provide, but also through personal and spiritual growth, which we're going to create through retreats and workshops. We're looking at sharing skills, knowledge, and experience, and we're wanting people to be part of a community which continues giving as well. So again, I'll come on to that in a minute. One of the ideas is around establishing an online platform for members to share their skills and experience and becoming an ambassador in your local area. So some of these ideas are literally like, they're too much for me, they're beyond me in terms of the practicalities, the technicalities, etc. So a bit like when Emily said earlier on about when she mentioned like about the guys, when me and Emily did an Instagram live last week, and the image that came in my mind was like the women were on the inside creating, and then the men were on the outside protecting the creations. So I had a discussion with a guy from a proper businessy place in York, and he said, what about the men, Lindsay? And I said, men can still support us. I said, through practical ways, through technical ways, through funding, through emotional support, and saying, here's the time and space if you want to go and create this, here's the time and space if you want to do this. So there are different ways that men can become involved. And I said, hopefully, I would love to have a temple man and eventually, and have another side to it, which would incorporate more of the male aspects. But for now, this is all I can do. So the membership. So basically, for only £5, you'll be added into a private Telegram and Facebook group. And this will purely be people who are really serious about wanting to be involved in the Temple Woman brand, in going off grid, in supporting in whatever way. You might not even want to actually be involved, but you might think, oh my God, this sounds awesome. I just want to help Lindsay, or I just want to help people to go off grid. So these groups are going to also give you an opportunity to connect with other people as well. So the reason it isn't free is because when you give things away for free, people then don't really want to be involved. And I know £5 seems like a really minimal amount, but what we wanted to do was to start off at a real, at a cost that was accessible to anyone and everyone. So that's like just over the price of a cup of coffee. And if you have a cup of coffee a week, that's cheaper than a cup of coffee a week. So for me, what it does as well is it guarantees you a voice in how we move forward. So it's then, whether we have like monthly meetings or quarterly meetings, it allows you to come in and for your voice to be heard. And again, that's something both me and Emily are really passionate about, is about allowing women's voices to be heard, allowing people to speak their truth. And I've put invitation to meetings in an AGM, which isn't going to be stuffy at all. So in my mind, an AGM is like in a field somewhere, with yurts, with candles, with dancing, and but just being able to gather together and see what we can co-create and collaborate on. So in terms of growing your business, so when you first start a business, or when you first start creating a product, let's say it's candles. I keep using candles because they seem really easy. But if you decide, I'm going to create my own candles, then you have to create your own labels, then you have to create your own Instagram site, then your own Facebook site, then you have to be on social media, you have to be here, and it's a lot of pressure. So by sort of coming under the Temple Woman umbrella, it basically is helping to give you access to other small businesses, and other traders. And in my mind as well, what I'm hoping is what we'll be able to do eventually is, if there's enough people making similar products, then we'll be able to bulk buy and reduce the cost down, for everyone. That's because you think how many people make candles across the UK, and how many people are getting like 1 litre bottles delivered here and there. Whereas if it's like, well, we could order maybe 10 litres, it'll just make a massive difference. We can then help each other by following each other's social media accounts and helping each other become visible. Ultimately, I would love to see like an online directory of other Temple Woman businesses, so then we're supporting each other. Another, I don't know if I've done a slide on this on the boxes, bear with me. If I haven't, I'll come back to that. So retreats. So myself and Emily have put together our first one-day retreat, which is on January the 16th, which also falls on a full moon this year, which is very exciting. So these are a perfect opportunity for women to gather and connect, as well as spending time on your personal and spiritual growth. So we recognise that, you know, none of us are meant to work 9 till 5, as well as being mums, partners, wives, whatever other labels we put on ourselves. So by spending time and investing in yourself is imperative for your own mental and emotional health, which I'm sure we can all agree after the last couple of years is like, should be like really up here for all of us. And what we're looking at doing from these is donating a percentage back from the money that we earn on the retreats back into the co-op, which can then help to support our members through other projects and workshops. So like I said, you know, what I see for this is like a bit like a Udemy, but for spiritual and more spiritual courses basically, but from accessible prices. So again, you know, if men want to get involved in this side of things, that's amazing. You know, if you've got like a 4-week, the way that I'm saying is like a 4-week course, 4 hours from about £9.99. So it's reasonably priced. So people can sort of just get like dip their toe in the water for different things. So sometimes like, you know, if you've been on your own spiritual journey, you might get to a point you're like, oh, I'm really fascinated. I really want to learn astrology now. So you want to do a bit about astrology, and then you want to do a bit about, say, Kundalini yoga. Then you do want to do a bit about aromatherapy. And what these courses can do is offer tasters. So then women can see, you know, is this something that I feel I want to learn more about? And if it is, then they can, they've already got that person who's the expert in that field to be able to go and speak to about further development. So it's not only going to help the person who's like learning from the course, but for anyone who wants to put a course out there for the Temple Woman idea, it's basically giving you customers, if you like, as well, because then they're going to come to you for further advice and go, oh my God, you know, I love that introduction to aromatherapy. Can you tell me more? Or have you got another course? Excuse me. So that's the way
that. On that, Lindsay, I was just a while ago, I was looking for I kind of advertise a mentorship for aromatherapy because I do my orders once a month. Mm-hmm. And I find that it's really, really a busy time. And I was like, oh, I could really do with somebody to help me to put all that together. And so there might be opportunities for like people to say, oh, do you know, I've got a really busy day of working, in exchange for helping me out with something, I could teach you this. Or, you know, it could be, as well as online, it could bring about sort of in-person exchanges as well. Like I was working with another massage therapist not so long ago, and we were just doing massage swaps and things like that. I learned so much from her. Or like healer swaps and things like that. So you've kind of got this forum which is safe. You've got the exchange of money, but also there'll be those informal opportunities as well, like I see. Yeah, I think that'd be really amazing.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Emily. Yeah, and that's the whole point of being in the groups as well. It's like, you know, we can start to trade our skills and our services and go, well, I can do this, or I could teach you this and you could teach me that. You know, it just helps us to, yeah, it just helps us all. So yeah. So this is another idea. So Emily already creates these beautiful monthly boxes that she hand delivers around Leeds. So when I was talking to her, I loved the idea. So what we decided to do is to come together and to put into these boxes a range of locally made and sourced products, which might include, for example, crystals for moonwork. It might contain my mugwort teas, some facial oil, skincare, but each product will be made by a member of Temple Woman. So again, we're supporting local businesses. So say, for example, there was a lady that I met earlier this week who just happened to have, she just made this beautiful rose hip and orange skin balm, and it's like, and it was in a beautiful pot, and I was like, oh my God, that would be ideal for these Temple Woman boxes. And in exchange for her providing them for the boxes, she would get a percentage of the monies, and then a percentage would go to the co-op. But the biggest thing for myself and Emily was around keeping it local and not wanting to be having to post them out to the UK, etc., and being very conscious of time as well. So what Emily does is she makes sure that all the boxes are ordered by the new moon and then delivered by the full moon. So that gives us a couple of weeks to make sure we have enough boxes, enough products, etc., to then deliver. So again, one of the ideas that we've sort of had is in terms of becoming an ambassador, is if you're in, let's say, for example, let's say you're up in sunny Scotland, let's say Glasgow. If you're in Glasgow and you're like, oh my God, I would love to do that, yeah, then we'll help you to find people who are around your area who are creating beautiful products that you can then start to collate, you know, and put in that box, and then you can then deliver to a certain area. So, and then again, a percentage of that would come back to the co-op. So that's sort of how we envisage these boxes working. Is there anything else, Emily, that you can think about with that?
Yeah, I was just going to say that there's something very much slow about the boxes. So we're not going to be like, you know, Amazon, eBay, where everything's sort of, we've got big shelves piled high of things. It's kind of like looking at a different way of doing business as well, which is kind of just using enough of what we've got. It'll be seasonal, and just kind of honoring our time, because but as soon as I started creating monthly, I was like, oh, I should have been doing this all my life, because it just felt so right. So it's kind of, I think that there's like the economic model, which is like sell more, do more, you can work more hours, you can really grit and grind, you know, whereas actually this is about balance, and this is about yeah, just doing things in a really, really different way, and to something energetically that will change as we start to do business in this way. And yeah, I just feel like I was just wondering if anybody was opening the questions afterwards, if they wanted to contribute to the first box. I think that's still a possibility. So yeah, if anyone makes something, or you know, want to share ideas tonight, that would be beautiful as well. That'd be really nice.
Definitely. Thank you, Emily. Okay. This is just a new idea that I had today, so Emily hasn't seen this one yet. But I was like, oh my God, we could do a book collaboration as well, and just collecting women's stories on what it means for them to be a temple woman. So how have you embodied strength, endurance, or resilience over these last couple of years? So we do have another author who's currently watching. So I know Joe Prakash has just written his first book, and I'm sure he could testify as well. When one person writes a book, it can take a long time, but if 12 people are sitting down and writing 2,000 words each, yeah, that can take like less than 3 weeks. So you can have a book within less than a month. So once the costs are covered, we can put a percentage of the profits back into the co-op. So that was just an idea that came in today. So what's this got to do with going off grid? So like I said earlier, the main thing that I keep hearing from people is, I want to go off grid, but I can't afford it. So if we keep focusing on we're not going to get very far, or we might do, but it might be really slowly. Whereas my feeling is, if we start to focus on we as a collective, we're going to get there so much quicker. Working together, providing products and services to each other is going to help us keep our money in our spaces. So we want to create a pot or a fund that's going to allow someone to buy a plot of land or a caravan or a yurt, or at least be able to access some funding, like from the Temple Woman Co-op, rather than jumping through hoops for grants and funding from the government. So I don't know if anyone else has tried to do it, but it's an absolute mission. It's a nightmare. They want you to have all these certain things in place, etc. And I'm just like, you know what? I feel like it would be much easier if there was a pot of money, and then it goes to the co-op, and between the members we agree and go, yeah, so this person can have X amount, you know, because they've shown this, this, and this. There we go. So then it's a collective decision rather than like just like a tick box exercise. So where will the money be held? So initially, members' fees are going to go into my PayPal account. So I did try to set up a buy me a coffee account, but unfortunately, because my website mentioned CBD on it, they terminated my account within the hour. So I will keep track of who's paid their fees, and I was going to issue like a little share certificate in due course. And we are going to be looking for a separate space in which to house the co-op funds, which will therefore keep them separate from my other work. So I've put any questions, but one more thing before I invite any questions, just so you know, like I said, you know, for me, this is like the very basics, the beginnings. There's like, I can see so much potential, you know, the possibilities are endless with this. And it's what you would like to maybe contribute as well to the Temple Woman idea. So yeah, let me just stop this now. So yeah, so I'm going to just switch off the recording.